and welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. As you can see, I have a special guest with me, David Fisher. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
David, and what we're going to talk about today. So after being almost homeless several years ago, I'd like to talk about that. David Fisher is now an award-winning international speaker, leadership coach, and growing author. According to Yahoo Finance, David is one of the top 10 speaking coaches and has also been featured in CBS and NBC. He has spoken to a variety of organizations at events, including Cirque du Soleil. He has coached other speakers around the world for numerous events, such as Tenaya Paseo in Las Vegas and Tony Robbins' Power of Success. David graduated with high honors in speech communications through Wayne State, is a certified life coach, story coach, has certifications in both psychological first aid and inclusive leadership, along with leadership and communication certifications through Toastmasters International. Well, again, welcome, David. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for making me.
I do have a list of questions, but I'm intrigued with how you after being homeless almost several years ago. So maybe tell us a little bit about that and how that's impacted what you do right now in your coaching and in your business.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was living in the States, just for I'm Canadian, I have dual citizenship. So I was living in the States and was pursuing an acting career. I had a job as a professional. I was in sales and marketing, and ended up in a film that got me into the Screen Actors Guild. And I was like, that's amazing. So let's go to a larger market. And I had a family, but decided to move to Vancouver rather than like Los Angeles, where I had also spent time before the family thing, and thought, well, Vancouver, my mom is already living here. Let's just go to Vancouver. It has a large film market, and came up here, and it was sort of like the perfect domino effect, like the perfect storm of everything that went wrong. So the job that I had lined up fell through. It was really hard to go to auditions and pursue an acting career when you don't have a job, you don't have money, you have to try to grab everything that you can. And through those first 6 months of having no income, I had lost everything. I lost my investments, I lost my car. And really, honestly, if it wasn't for my mom paying my rent because she had grandkids, I probably would have ended up on the streets. And there was one moment when I was walking by a homeless guy, and I don't have the cup right with me, but he was holding one of those red cups. I ended up buying one just as a reminder. Is holding one of those red cups that you see in like university parties and stuff where people like pour beer, and he was holding it out for people to give money. And for the first time in my life, I thought, is this me? Is this my future? Because my confidence was, and I kept waiting for somebody to rescue me. And I realized at that moment that nobody was coming, and that I had to change me, regardless of what I felt was wronged by me. The job falling through was, like it wasn't my fault. Like all of these things were not my fault, but they happened to me. And I kept wanting to blame everybody else. And I thought, you know what? It doesn't make a difference whether it's my fault or not. I need to change myself in order to get out of this. And that started the journey of me saying, okay, let's examine my life. What can I do? What can I be that's better so that I can overcome this and then move on with my life? And that has impacted you today, and the heart that I have for other people and reaching out and connecting and helping them connect with their business and fulfill their dreams and help them make an impact on the world as well. So that still feeds that story, because that's the seed of what has grown from that.
Well, I guess it must have humbled you greatly and helped you develop some empathy for others.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I never thought I would be in that situation. And I'm a crier, I'm empathetic anyway, but to go through something like that was really, even when things sometimes are hard now, and we've had a pandemic and weird weather in BC and like all these things happening. And I'm still reminded that I'm not where I was. and where I was scrounging through the couch cushions to try and find change. And if I found change, to have a choice of being like, hey, we're all going to go get French fries at McDonald's as a treat, or do I use it for transit to go to a job interview? And to think, wow, like, even if I haven't arrived, whatever that means for somebody's life, and fulfilled every dream and goal I've ever had in my life, I can look back and say, you know what? And a lot of growth and progress that's happened over the last few years. And I can encourage others, hopefully, to do the same thing, and to remember, if we remember where we come from and the struggles that we've been through, we can kind of see that it's okay. We've made a lot of progress, even if we haven't made it yet in our own head, whatever that looks like for us.
Great. So let's talk about the types of clients that you work with. What are those, let's say, ideal client? How would you describe them?
My ideal client is a socially conscious. So somebody cares about justice, the environment. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's their business, but that is a concern that they have, and they run their business in an ethical way. And typically it's small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, as well as creative people or business professionals. I have worked beyond that into scope of things like nonprofits and corporations and things like that as well. But my coaching clients are typically small business owners who want to make an impact on the world.
So what are the key challenges key challenge that these business owners face that you help them solve?
That's a great question. And the common theme that I hear, that we all deal with as a business owner, even as a company, is there's so much noise. There's so much information that we have. And the question is, how do I, as a small business owner, a solopreneur, or artist, or whatever, how do I rise above the noise? How am I heard? And then once I'm heard, how am I remembered? Because we have all of this information that comes to us. And it's kind of like, if I know English, and I'd like to think I do, and I'm dropped into the middle of a country where nobody speaks English, and all I hear is noises that don't make sense to me. And sometimes we sort of feel like that as a business, as somebody who's in business, or somebody who has a voice who wants to change the world, and we feel like everything around us is wah, 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 wah. How does our voice kind of rise above that? And that's really what I work with clients on. And it's not marketing. It's actually about connection and communication and storytelling. That when people leave and go, oh man, I really like Stephen. Oh, I'm going to remember him. He made a really neat connection with me. That noise, we can tend to rise above that. And that's what I mostly work with and teach on.
So there's a problem in being able to connect to their own story or communicate that to their clientele. Is that basically what you're helping them to develop clarity?
Yeah, and it's kind of two levels. One is make the right connection and tell the right and ask the right questions so that you can hear their story, and then you can also share the clarity. I help clarify your story, but I also help others, or help you bring out the story in other people. Because in that, then we find commonalities of story. And when there's a commonality of story, then that's when that connection can take place. And it's more than just, here's my life story, let's connect. There's deeper levels and nuances to that. But that's what I work with and consult and coach.
So, just to bring a little more clarity to the problem, if I was looking at, let's say, one of your clients that has the problem that you help them fix, what are the symptoms that I would see? What would I be seeing from as an outsider?
Yeah, and I think what you'll be seeing is a lot of somebody who doesn't necessarily understand this or have been trained on this, has an innate ability with this. It's not having a path. It's saying, here's me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Here's what I do, here's my features, here's my benefits, here's my voice, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And it's kind of it's sort of that repeat of a story. And when we can shift that initially and say, okay, let's not get rid of the features and benefits of your business or your service right now. Let's just get to the heart of the genesis of why you do what you do. But also at the same time, teach you how to get to the genesis or the heart of what your potential client or business partner or whatever they might do, and really dig into their story, so that the difference doesn't become look at me, look at me, look at me. It's, hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And the main thing that I'm sort of the crux of the first thing I teach is curiosity. Be genuinely curious about somebody else. So picture of what that looks like is that we do a lot more listening than we do speaking. And sometimes as a business owner or as somebody who's building a business, that's hard because we have a voice that we want to share. But if we spend more time really listening to understand, not listen to respond and say, there's a problem. I see you in your story and there's a problem. I'm going to solve that problem for you right now. But to seek understanding, a deep understanding with another person, that helps us be remembered. And then we can go in and start solving problems if the conversation leads to that, which is the longer version of that. But I think the short answer for that, Stephen, is you're a lot more quiet. The other people's voice can be heard.
So, just to make it a bit more concise and clear, if I was talking to one of your clients who you're working with, in one or two sentences, what would he tell me the problem he has that you're helping him with?
Great question. And I think they would say, well, I know what they would say is they would say, they're teaching me how to ask the right questions, or I'm teaching you how to ask the right questions. They meaning me, how to ask the right questions, how to ask the right questions and build that trust. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you teach them how to do that, and they use that with their clients. And how does that help your client, the business owner, to learn how to ask questions and listen better with their clients? What's the benefit to them with your process?
Yeah. And there's really two benefits. One is, as I mentioned before, that business can rise above the noise and say, oh man, this person really heard me. I feel connected with this person because we made a genuine human to human connection. And I'm going to remember, I'm going to remember David because David made a human connection with me. It wasn't about sales. It wasn't about marketing. It wasn't about features and benefits. It was about a genuine human connection. So I'm going to remember that. And so that builds a business, that builds influence. The other thing that it does is it takes the pressure off. It takes to say, okay, yeah, I can just be me and be a person that is genuinely connected or learning how to connect with somebody else. And I don't have to be somebody I'm not. I don't have to be that sales guy or that marketing person. I can be myself, but the best version of myself that really reaches out and connects with other people. And there's an emotional investment that takes with that. It can be tiring, but it's also inspiring, and it also gets results because you're building those relationships and people will remember you. So personal benefit to this, but the benefit is making those connections and building that business and that influence that you want to have.
Well, asking questions is powerful, not only for sales, but I've talked about it for managers as well, because managers often tell people what they want them to do rather than asking them, what should you be doing, and getting a commitment to that. It's just shifting it a bit. But it becomes a very powerful way of engaging people, an agreed upon path of, let's say, performance or productivity. So I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
What is one valuable free action that the audience can implement that will help them solve that problem? If somebody's listening and they say, well, I could be better at listening, at asking questions, what is one advice or free valuable action tip you could share with them?
I was consulting with a guy, and one of the things that I look for, so here's the tip, be genuinely curious, ask a lot of questions, see where the conversation goes. So don't make it sound like an interrogation, but ask a lot of questions. But here's the tip, is to look for the shift in that person you're talking to. So for example, this person that I was talking to was very stoic and very businesslike. And I was trying to drill down, why is he doing what he's doing? Why is he building what he's doing? Why is he putting in the long hours away from his family to do this? And it was all very, well, I'm doing this because of this and this and this. And finally, it was a very natural conversation, but I was looking for that little spark. And he generally was a fairly stoic individual. So you're not looking for somebody to suddenly go crazy, but you're looking for something that sort of energizes them a little bit. And I finally got to the point where his kids, and he sort of went, oh, my kids, like, I want to have a better future for my kids. And his face lit up and his gestures started. And I thought, that's the connection point. That's the connection point with the business. And then we ended up having a really long conversation about his kids and how important they were to him, and how a future for his children was going to be really important. And that's why he was building it. And so the short version of that is, be curious to find that connection point that kind of lights them up, because that's where that connection takes place. Then you're like, now I've got a genuine, deeper connection with this person, because they revealed about something about themselves that they're passionate about. And that's something now that I can determine as a business owner. Does this fit? Does my story and their story fit? Can we do business together? If so, amazing. If not, you've still created a fan. You've still got somebody who likes you and will support you and give you referrals. Fit, but boy, I really like this guy. You should go talk to him, because you've made that deeper connection. So look for that shift, that sort of vocal, light up the face gesture kind of shift when you're asking those questions.
So it sounds like that what you're essentially doing is helping people develop more trusting relationships, whether it be for sales or on a personal level, or even, like I would see it even with leaders, managers, and employees, by being more authentic, being more, I get the word you used, I guess, inquisitive with people, wanting
curious
to understand them better rather than telling them what you want from them. And thus, there's this, I guess, people will trust you more if they feel you care about them rather than trying to sell them something or control them. Is that kind of what you're helping these business owners do?
It is. And part of the mental shift and part of what I teach is that it has to be genuine. You have to be genuinely curious. You can't fake curiosity and ask questions until you see this. And right, because then people see that. And so the idea is to have that other person be the most important, fascinating person on the planet. And inside your head, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this conversation to be over, right? Because we've talked to people like that, and they're exhausting and they're draining, and you're like, I need to end this conversation. But if we kind of take the mindset to say, you are the most fascinating person in the world, then that genuine curiosity, we can trick our brain, and that genuine curiosity will come out. And eventually you will find something that connection, or you won't. And then you know that that's not a person that you want to continue that relationship with, whether it's a business relationship or personal or whatever. If there's nothing there, well, then then you don't have to spend any more time with that person. And then, I teach ways that you can kind of veer out of that or gracefully end the conversation or the connection. But you're looking for that moment. But the trick is to be very genuine about it and put yourself in a mindset where it really is about them. Even if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I really need this sale, you have to kind of get that out of your head, which I teach how to do that so that you're genuinely making that connection.
Get beyond the fear of or the anxiety of selling and trying to make your sale. So what is one free, valuable resource that you can direct people to that will help them with that problem? Do you have something that we could share with people through a link or something?
Yeah, and I'll give you a little bit of a bonus one that's inexpensive. That's not me, but I have one that is communication skills in the 21st century. And if you just go to my website, davidfish.ca/4 skills, it's in the 21st century, what 4 skills do you need? And you can download that. It's a free resource. Okay. I am putting together a brand new workshop. It's called Amplify Your Story, and there will be a free download with that as well. So that's coming. So if you download, I know the date when this will air. So anybody who downloads based on this podcast then will also get that other free that free resource that will be coming. But I can't give out any more information on that part yet. But you'll actually get 2 for the price of 1, which is free. So it's a really good deal. So
okay,
David,
well, you could send me those, and I'll put in the description of this broadcast. It'll be on YouTube, and as soon as I have my podcast channel up and running. Right now it's YouTube, but the podcast is being set up.
That's great.
We'll put those links there.
Sure.
So is there one question that I should have asked you that I didn't, that would give great value to the audience right now? Something that you'd like to add?
I think the question I get a lot, which is questions that you get from other business owners and entrepreneurs and even creative people who are, like, I've worked with photographers and painters and stuff as well, is how do you, are there days when you wake up and you just want to, like, forget it? Like, how do you keep going? And the first question that I usually ask is, well, do you want to keep going? Now that's hard to answer when you're when you're sort of being emotional, which is totally fine to be emotional, but you don't want to make big decisions when you're just having a bad day. So I really get to a place where you're centered, and I just say, listen to the whisper of your heart. And if the whisper of your heart says, keep going, maybe you shift, maybe you change directions, maybe you find a new passion, or you have to tweak your target audience or something like that. But if it says keep going, then the next thing to do is to say, okay, what's the next task? What's the next thing that I have to do? I can't think of the big picture right now because I'm too overwhelmed. It's always good to think about the big picture and have big dreams, but bring it down to what is the one thing, the next thing I have to do today. And maybe it is just watching a YouTube video. Maybe it is just doing a search. Maybe it's just sending that one email that you needed to send to that client that you haven't heard from. But rather than getting overwhelmed and getting imposter syndrome or feeling like I can't do this, I'm not capable of doing this, listen to the whisper of your heart and go, yeah, okay, yep, I'm still doing this. I still feel good about this. Okay, what's the next task? Maybe it's just having a good breakfast.
Yeah, and sometimes it's never a good time to make a important decision when you're feeling stressed or frustrated.
Sure.
So it's always good to step away, get some rest, and then see how you feel. What is your heart whispering to you? Do you want to continue or not? Because we all get those days. I had a few in the last few days with technology, computer crashes, and trying to edit a video, and it just program kept crashing. So you get those days, say, why am I doing this? Right? It's just too frustrating. But then you recover from it, and you want to keep going, and knowing what the next step is good advice. Well, thank you so much, David. It was really nice to have you on the show and to hear what you had to say about, I guess it's really boils down to good communication techniques and being authentic, trusting to be yourself, and trusting that if you do, you'll make the right connections to move forward in whatever mission you have, whether it's a salesperson or a leader, a manager. I guess it can apply to all those things. So again, thank you very much. And I'll put links to David's website into the resources he mentioned. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do so now to get news of new videos like these. I also have resources, forms, templates, worksheets that you can download from my website. There's links in the description of this video. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk again.